neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to the Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the weekly business hour. Well, this morning it's a little chilly outside, and if you're listening further north than where we are, oh, by the way, we're in Conroe, Texas. It's the county seat of Montgomery County, Texas, a little bit north of Houston, if you don't know where that is. And we're in our annual winter weather week, I always like to call them, because I grew up around here, and this was always about a week every year, maybe two. Exceptions, though, but everybody's kind of locked down today. And hopefully we'll have, or maybe not hopefully, have a little bit of snow for the kids, and it goes from there. But it does have a direct impact on our businesses. And I want to address that in my thought, your business and being prepared. They've been talking about this winter weather this time around for us for at least a week. It reminds me of a hurricane. They talk about it, and it gets closer and closer and closer. But smart business owners, right, they prepare. And you need to think ahead, particularly if the weather or the situation's unusual. I know when I go up north in the winter, everything's winter every day for 2 to 3, 4 months. And so people are prepared. They just sort of switch their thinking. But down here, when it just occasionally comes in, you'll see people up all night trying to wrap pipes and do things. But the key is always communication. Be sure you're communicating with your customers, you're communicating with your suppliers, you're communicating, most importantly, with your employees. Let them know the schedule, and do it as far in advance as you feel comfortable with. It's very important. This past weekend, I was visiting with my mother. Now, she's 94 years old, and she lives in a senior living facility, 55 plus they call it, and they have a beauty shop on premises. And there's one lady that is the beautician, I guess they call them still. And on Sunday, my mother received a call from this lady, and it really impressed her. This lady called her to say that she wasn't going to be open Wednesday when my mother normally comes in for her appointment, and could they do it the following Sunday. And my mother thought that was just, that woman has got it together. Again, a small business, but she knew enough with her customers and to reach out, I assume, to everybody who had appointments during the middle of the week when the really bad weather's supposed to hit. So that's what you need to be thinking. Please do that, because you see people, they don't know where you are or what you're doing. Is you're not open, you're not answering the phone. Worst thing in the world you really can do in your business. Simple. Let people know where you are and let them know when you're open. Let them know what you can do and can't do during this period of storms. Share with them your plan, because that will build you up. That will add to your ability to keep that customer for life. Well, we're coming today to you from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star is the community radio station for Montgomery County. Lone Star is a nonprofit, so please, if you're inclined, think about donating money to the station. That's the way we run. We're all volunteers. I am. I do my show, and a number of other people do the same thing, so we can continue to allow the community to have a voice and come into the station. We broadcast on Conroe City FM, so the city of Conroe is generous in allowing us to do that and taking care of their needs when they have emergencies. So 24/7, Lone Star Community Radio. And if you'd like to check out the website and perhaps consider a donation, It's very simple, irlonestar.com. That's irlonestar.com. Well, the reason we're here today is talk a little bit of business, and we've got two individuals in the studio with us today, and we're going to talk about moving. Over the weekend as well, I was talking to my wife, we were considering moving, and she just winced. She says, I don't think I'm up to making another move. And she's just the whole aspect of just moving, even though she would live in a better place, most likely, and so on and so forth. And it's interesting. I suspect many, if not most people, have that reaction either in a business move or a home move. So the mover has to take charge, I think, and move the client and make them feel comfortable it's all going to be there. So I've been a part of some interesting corporate moves, and a lot goes into them if they come off successfully. So we're going to be talking to that. And today we have two people. Steve Graydon is the president, owner of the company, CMS, Contract Movers Services. Got that right, didn't I, Steve? And then Juan, I'm not going to butcher your last name. What's your last name?
Escamilla.
Escamilla. Well, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I just never have seen that name. And Juan is the director of commercial business. So we got the two experts, right, that are with the company. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Rick.
And we always start off and get a little background information to let our listeners know what your background is and what brought you to be in business. So, Steve, why don't you lead us off and tell us a little bit about your business background and how you got where you are today.
A little bit about me, Rick, and the listeners. I started in this industry, the moving business. They say that once you get in the moving business, it's hard to get out of it. So I started in 1991, actually. I know I look like I'm 21, but I started in 1991 actually as a driver. I drove all over the country. I did that for 12 years for a big company called North American Van Lines. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard of it. And my specialty was moving people, household goods across the United States. And then went from actually being a driver where we packed, loaded through your truck, to actually went into sales, what we call COD sales. You've got certain types of sales in the moving industry. You've got COD sales where the customer actually, it's a private move that you're going to pay for it yourself. Then you have what we call a national account move where the company pays for it. So I went into COD sales where we basically, at that time I was living in Chicago, and basically did very well in that part of the side of the business and developed what we call national account business where we actually had ongoing customers. So I went out of the COD sales into the national account arena and then moved from Chicago up to Dallas, Texas with the same company and did that for another 10 years there. And I was actually in Dallas for 16 years, in the moving business, and then moved to Houston 13 years ago. And worked for a very large company here in town, and my specialty there was basically office moving. Here in Houston, moving industry is rather small industry. A lot of folks know each other in the same business. So I've kind of developed a reputation of, basically doing a hard move, so to speak. I've done moves where basically we were underneath time restraints. For instance, we did a move for a very large collection agency in the country where they had to have minimum downtime. So we started at 9 a.m. They were moving from Houston. They're moving all of their power, their servers, their information data and everything to Denver, Colorado. So we started at 8 a.m. We powered everything down. We packaged all the servers, and actually we chartered a plane. And then we flew everything. We had an escort to the airport, loaded everything on the plane, delivered it to to Denver. The same day, had an escort there and brought it to the facility and powered it back up, and everything was back online by 8 p.m. that evening. So we did a complete move in the same day from Houston all the way to Denver.
Wow.
So that's just one of the things, I've done everything from what we call crane moving, where basically some of the offices downtown that, say for instance, they've got some very large video screens that basically the only way they can get into the building is you have to take the side of the window off. So we had the side of the window taken off, had the screen actually say, big mirror screen actually say hoisted up by crane and inserted in through the open window, and then had the window installed. So that's kind of the thing. So if you're here in Houston, or you've got to say a move that's kind of difficult, or you're a little bit worried about, basically I'm your guy. So about 3 years ago, we decided to start my own, and that's how we come up with Contract Mover Services. We basically we're a full service mover, and we actually have national accounts all across the country. We have several large companies that we actually have contracts with that have offices in different parts of the country that we actually say do the moves for them. And the way we handle that is that we have contracts with other movers that are qualified throughout the country that will handle the business, and we have a staff here in Houston that coordinates the move from beginning to end. So that's basically a little bit about what we do. We do everything from office moving, we do special products, we do white glove deliveries. So for instance, if you need something that need to be delivered into a building a certain kind of way, or handled very delicate or something like that, we can handle that as well. So we do that along with also household good moving as well. We have a department that does that does household goods moving, that people are moving locally, because moving, as you may know, is probably the second most stressful thing you're going to do. So to have a qualified person who can handle it, and you don't have to be concerned about it, and we actually have folks, our thing is customer service, to make sure that the move goes smoothly. If it goes bad, because it does happen sometimes, we make sure that we turn the lemons into lemonade. And that's that we worked out a lot of problems that way to get ongoing customers, because people know that we cared about their move. So that's a little bit about us.
Mm-hmm. Boy, I'm kind of worn out just listening to all the things you do, and I'm sitting here thinking about moving, and what a challenge it is for a business or an individual, and the ability to trust the mover, because like many things I've seen, particularly with small business, where they'll look for the cheapest price, and it's 3 guys in a truck or whatever, and things happen, damage, and lost downtime that they shouldn't have had, and it just like anything else. But I've had so many small business people look at the dollar first, second, and third versus the quality or the time frame. So, plus you enlighten me on a lot of interesting situations. Mm-hmm. Now I know I can get to Denver in a day. So
without a doubt,
and open the office on Monday morning. Yeah. Well, Juan, we don't want to disregard you. Give us a little bit of your background.
So I started with the moving industry about maybe 7 or 8 years ago with another company. I was living outside of Houston at that time, and it was the time where they were rolling out the virtual survey platforms. So those are pretty commonplace these days, but at that time it was new, and it was being rolled out with this particular company, and so I got a lot of my introductory work there. As far as estimating and working with clients, and did do a lot of work on like what Steve says with the national accounts and things like that. And then I moved here 2 years ago. That's how me and Steve met. We crossed paths at a mover where we were working at together. At that time, they were restructuring, and that's when Steve decided to make his move to start his own business. So I stayed in contact with him, and just kind of reached out, and he was looking for help with his business, and I see it as an opportunity for growth, and it being a small business and something like that. You build success, you build opportunity, and so I thought it was a worthy endeavor, and thought, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so we've been doing this. So the thing that I think is invaluable is the exposure to those different roles, as far as not being a front guy as I am now, but also seeing the process of the business develop and grow, and just even within the industry, learning more about the office and the industrial aspect of the business, because people would think like, oh, moving is just households. That's the first thing that comes to mind, right? Moving a house, moving an apartment, these types of things, even fancy homes, whatever. But in Houston, you do have that big market, that big commercial market, where there's all the office space and there's all the different types of manufacturing and industrial sectors of the economy. And so you just get a different kind of exposure, which I think is interesting, being in some
Well, I
of these
would
places.
imagine in the greater Houston area, because I grew up here, the growth and whatnot is just phenomenal if you look back 50 years or more and what happened. And I always think about my grandfather who came here in 48 after the war. He was flying from Corpus Christi, believe it or not. He had a business there, partner, back to Atlanta, which was his home and where he had his business. And the planes were grounded because of weather. Back then, that was not unusual, apparently. And he had a friend in Houston, and he was a sales. Grandfather was definitely a sales type person. Called the guy up, and the guy said, "Hey, there's a business for sale in your industry, and you might want to take a look at it." And so he did, and he evaluated Houston, which I think at that point there were maybe not quite 250,000 people living in the area. And he called his wife up, which had to be gutsy if you knew my grandmother, and said, "We're moving." Because her family was from the Atlanta area. She had a lot of family. And they moved, and it just took off as far as the business and the growth. And it's a great place, in my opinion, the greatest by the numbers in the whole country over a 50-year plus period to a growth and opportunity. So that's interesting. I'm curious, how do you market your business? How do you market the moving business?
A lot of times it's networking, it's trying to make connections through some of the referral groups. There's, of course, cold calling businesses is a part of it. And I think trying to build a reputation, I think, is one of the things, because there's other companies that are established and they have name recognition and things like that because they've been around. But I think that's probably going to be the most effective way, is to get to a point where, we're recognized as an organization to do good work and to fulfill needs, especially niche needs like what Steve is alluding to with the commercial market. And then that's kind of like your biggest bang for your buck in as far as advertising.
And we also get a lot of referrals because our deal is that our goal is to do a great job. So that way, because a good referral go a long way compared to, say, for instance, actually trying to paid advertising, to be honest with you. But one of the things we do is once we do a move, we reach out to them and ask them, make sure that they're satisfied with the move, and would they mind, referring us to, somebody else that they may need. And then, of course, like I said, Juan said, is that we do quite a bit of networking, different groups, different chambers, and then we also use a marketing source. We use a marketing source that we actually pay for. It's a paid marketing source research company. We use 2 of those. That basically they research companies in the area that may, say, for instance, a lot of people don't know that if you're moving your office, a lot of times you got to go down and get a certificate of occupancy, a CO permit, and that's public information. Well, these companies research that, then basically they turn around and give us that information. And then Juan or myself and a couple other people in our office will reach out to them and say, "Hey, we understand that you may be moving. Would you be interested in getting the estimate from us?" The estimate that they get from us is free at no cost. In the estimate, especially when we provide a full office move plan, because you got a lot of moving parts, a lot of confusion when people get ready to move. So we have a complete office move plan where basically the customer knows all of our jobs are moves. They have a working supervisor. That supervisor, they know who the supervisor's name is. They know how many men or ladies going to show up for the move. They're going to know how many trucks are going to be there. Actually, we may be a large enough move where we need multiple trucks. And then we also estimate the time. And then, of course, we give them the bottom line price. We discuss, how it can, because what we pride ourselves on is that basically we don't want to get into a situation where it's a gotcha moment. Because the moving industry has somewhat of a bad knock on sometimes folks reach out to a mover and they get a quote over the phone. A person never comes out or never surveys or does anything, and just basically gives them a number. They get out to the house, they get out to the office, do the move, and they say, hey, this is what it's going to cost now. So then you got a gotcha moment. So it could be good or bad. So anyway, we try to avoid those. We try to say actually go out and do a survey. And we tell them exactly what's involved. So we give them a list of the inventory that's going to be moved, so they can check off the inventory to make sure that they see exactly what we discussed, the valuation. The valuation, what I mean by valuation in the insurance, in the moving business, it's not, when you get insurance, so to speak, it's not really insurance. It's called valuation because we can't really sell you insurance because we're not licensed insurance people. So basically, we call it, it's called valuation. So basically, we discuss whether or not they would like, added valuation. If they do not, then we move with what we call standard movers state insurance for the state of Texas, in this case, basically across the country. What that is 60 cents per pound per item. So if, for example, if an item only weighs 10 pounds, then all the mover responsibility cost-wise, if that item gets damaged, is $6. If it weighs 100 pounds, $60. If it weighs 1,000 pounds, so basically we let them know that, and a lot of times that will cover the cost of repairing maybe furniture if it gets nicked or scratched. But if you're moving electronics, something like that, then typically that's not going to cover that. So basically we discuss and we give them an option to know that, especially some of the fancy TVs that are being moved these days. So we discuss all of that in the move plan. And then basically with the move, so once the move is done, then we have a coordinator that reaches back out. How did the move go? Did we do anything? Could we do anything better? Were you happy with the crew? Were the crew in uniform? Did we protect the property? Basically, if we're moving out of a house, did we put floor protection down? Did we cover the banisters? Did we put door jamb, a padding on your door? Some folks have these fancy doors and things like that. Did we protect that? Those things like that. So those are little things that we do. And if we find out that it wasn't done, then we visit with the crew. Say, hey, why you need to do this next time. So in other words, we continue to grow and continue to get better on each move. That's our goal. So,
well, it sounds like you got the systems and process in place. I do want to back up just a second. You've had a interesting career. I'm speaking from the cheap seats, but as you went through the different markets, the different types of things you did, why did you choose Houston to start your business?
Well, Houston is, it's considered to be, Texas period is considered to be in the moving industry, an inbound market. Yeah, more people moving into the state of Texas than moving out. So, the number of companies that here are companies, energy companies, medical companies that are here, that helped me to establish a base of business, because we have contracts with several of those companies. And it helps us, to establish a base of business to continue to grow. But with the diversity of folks moving in and out, I just thought, and being in this business and in this industry for so long, I just realized that was a niche, a niche that basically we could capitalize on at this particular time.
Yeah, it's interesting because in Houston, I've been in several different businesses, and this market, again, it's just amazing. I think it's slowed down lately. That's subject to this, and we had the big crash when the oil industry, what was that, about 30 years ago now, maybe, where things just fell off all of a sudden. But basically, and my dad told me this when I was starting out on my own at 30. He said, Houston's the best place to do business. He says, the thing is, yeah, it may go down, it may have a but it's the first one to come back. The country has a recession. You watch, Houston will be the one to first start moving back up. And it proved true several times that we've had slowdowns.
We're right now we're experiencing growth on the international side. We do quite a bit of what we call origin and destination services for other forwarders across. Actually, we're a part of a group called it's called International Association of Movers. It's a membership that basically has over 2,000 movers that basically around the world. And then basically it's an organization where, say for instance, that they contact us when someone's moving, say for example, to India or something like that. We will actually say pack, go out and do what we call an international wrap and pack, and then basically load it in onto the container. Then basically say deliver to the Houston port, deliver it, and we turn the move over to the forwarder, and they handle it from there, and vice versa. If it's coming into Houston from another country, we receive it from the port and bring it to our warehouse. We unload it and we deliver it locally. So we're experiencing quite a bit of that here lately as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that that's got to be a growth business,
Yes,
I would
it
think,
is. It is.
with business going on around the world.
It is.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to take a short break, and ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll stay with us. We're going to come back and talk to Steve and Juan a little bit more about their company and what they do and why people should look for quality versus price when they have to go through a move, business or personal. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776.
Second Saturday Divorce Workshop provides unbiased information to help you understand your options and move forward with your life. This divorce workshop is for you if you are contemplating divorce, in the process of divorce, already filed for divorce, or post-divorce. You will explore the emotional, legal, and financial aspects of divorce from professionals who have guided others through divorce. For more information on this divorce workshop, contact secondsaturdaywoodlands.com or call 832-375-0900.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for listening to the Weekly Business Hour. We're going to get back to Steve and Juan in just a minute, but I want to mention to you that I appreciate receiving emails from our listeners. Now, an email to offer some observation about the show, great. An email with a business question that you have about your business. Because, you know, sometimes on the show we have a segment called Mailbag, and that's where I actually answer your question on the air. And then otherwise, just anything you want to talk about related to the show, to business, I'm all ears. I respond to all emails very quickly. And thank you again to those that have submitted business questions, because our mailbag segments have become very, very popular. So don't forget, drop me an email, Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Okay, back to business. Juan and Steve, again, thank you for coming in. The moving business, I've learned today, has a lot of moving parts. One of the things I came across during my career, and I talked to somebody, lady had a company. I don't know how many employees she had, quite a few, but she coordinated moves for big corporations. With the idea that I go home kind of falls in line with your one-day move to Denver. I'm an employee. I go home on Friday, and when I come back on Monday, my desk, my chair, my pencils, literally, are in the same place in a new space. And so there's no lost or very little lost time. I find that, at the time, I said, boy, that is interesting. Nothing I personally did ever experienced.
Well, I mean, that is probably, I would say, probably 75% of our work. And it's mostly done, most of our work is also done after hours because, because of building management, you don't want movers interrupting the business for the other tenants. So basically, a lot of times we start, say, for example, on a move that the company may shut down, say, maybe 12 o'clock that day on a Friday or 3 o'clock, and the crews are there, and they start what we call a dolly up procedure, where what that means is basically they do the disconnection or the disassembly of the desk. If you got any system furniture like cubicles and things like that, they start taking that apart. So basically, they get items ready to be moved out of the building by 5 or 6 p.m. And just depends on what our time restraints happens to be, if they need to be up and running and how large the move is by Monday morning. We can work around the clock. We've done that to make sure they're up and ready to go. And then the move plan can do everything from what we can do the full pack. We can do what we call IT disconnect and reconnect, where we will actually come in and disconnect the monitors and the desktops and the docking stations and everything, and label those and pack them up as well. And interesting, in the commercial side of business now, we don't particularly use boxes as much. We use what we call packing crates. It's a 4-to-1 dimension. What I mean by that is that it's a crate that's basically equivalent to 2 banker boxes side by side. One banker box is considered to be 1.5 cubic feet. So basically these crates are 3.0 cubic feet. And then basically what happens is that it comes with a crate dolly with wheels. We'll put the first crate in that dolly. I put the first crate into that dolly well, and then we pack, and then close the lid and stack another one on top. Stack them 4 high, and then we also we actually say label them. So we encourage all of all of the people who's coordinating the move to give all the employees a number. So basically the employees say labels their crate with their number, maybe one, whatever particular. Let's just say, for example, we've got 30 employees in that company, so they will label, say, employee number 1. And then basically put the same labeling on the new office where they're moving to. So what that means is that basically the movers, they move everything into that new office at destination, because for a simple reason, it has a number on the door. We also do a thing what we call grid system, where basically we can set up the office without the employee being there. It's basically we give each employee it's like a gridded paper, and then basically they can draw on that paper their desk, the credenza, the bookshelf, and basically how they want it in the room. They put that grid on the door. The movers go in, they see, hey, this is where they want their desk, this is where they want. So pretty much the office is set up for them without even the employee being there. So that's one of the ways that we actually do that. Then at the end, the working supervisor, he walks through, checks each office, makes sure that the grid is matched with the paperwork, and then, excuse me. So that's how we make sure that office is set up. And then and if it's a fairly large move, we do what we call a smooth set, where on that day when the employees come in on that Monday or Tuesday, sometimes the employee may realize, I don't want my desk to go this way. Or, I don't want my computer, to be facing this way. It got too much glare on it. So we may have just 2 movers that day there to move things around, reposition things, and make sure that the employee's satisfied as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting and thoughtful in my mind. I mean, to think that's going to happen, right?
Oh, it happens. It happens. You know, and we also tell them during the move, because we do what we call a move meeting. Now, the move meeting is typically a few days before the move, probably about 10 days. We actually meet with the staff. These days, we actually do it on Zoom. And then we show them how to use the packing crates. Because these crates are designed for a couple of things, a couple of reasons. It expedites the move, because when the movers get to the job site, everything's already on wheels. They just push it out to the truck. Secondly, it's designed to stop the employee from picking up on anything heavy. So that because once you pack one crate with paperwork and things like that, it can weigh up to 70 pounds. So we go over that, show them how to use that, and then we discuss, well, if they got anything of value, to tell them to move that themselves. The other thing is that what we do is that we discuss the labeling and where the label's going to go on the furniture, that kind of thing. So that way, the employees are basically educated on the move itself. We answer any questions that they may have, and then after that, we just take over the move and go from there.
Again, still a lot of moving parts and logistics, but
Yeah.
it sounds well coordinated.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is things are always changing. You can go out and talk with a client, and sometimes they have a complete idea of how things should go, and sometimes they're not. And then the other thing is some of the buildings and things, you might have a hard deadline on when you have to be out, and things have to be reset on the other end. But it's just to give yourself some time there. Don't wait until the last day. And if it's like a large space or things like that where you might anticipate having things prepped and ready to go, but then for whatever reason you start running out of time or things like that, we typically will react to those things and be able to help out and to be able to do those things. And ideally, though, you want all those things up front sorted out. Even with household moves, it can be the same thing. That's why the upfront conversation is so important, talking about the process, and all that type of things is, just from a client side, just giving that mover or whoever it is that you're working with that opportunity to, gauge everything. And, it's like there's a lot going on at that time. Like if you're anticipating moving to a new spot, you're thinking about all these other things I got to do. I got to do this with the utilities or the company or the family or whatever it is. But doing that upfront work with the mover and giving them the time that they need is very helpful. That's it.
And then we also have a network of qualified vendors that we work with, such as if you're doing an office move and you need someone to do the cabling for the new system, a new office, we can refer them to folks that actually do the cabling. If you need an IT person, we can do that as well. Copier person, printer companies, that kind of thing. So what we do is we refer them, and they can work with them direct. And then vice versa. That's another way how we get business as well. They go out, they know someone that may be moving, they're putting in a new phone system or a copier, that kind of thing, and then reach out to us and say, hey, we've got so-and-so that's going to be moving. I want you to reach out to them. And then that's another way we get a lead for a move as well.
Well, you connect with your vendors is what
Correct.
it sounds like,
Correct.
and suppliers and whatnot.
Correct.
Juan, let me ask you, both of you, I think, have mentioned the referrals, primary source, or a good source of leads. I met you at a networking meeting. What do you look to get out of, or when you go into a networking meeting, if you will, if we can call them that, or a place where you think you're going to be able to network, how do you approach that?
Oh man, a lot better than when I first started doing it. Yeah, I was new to that part of it, getting out and networking and meeting people. So, because I'd always kind of been an in-house kind of guy, so getting out, it's definitely different. And I think now it's more casual now. Whereas when I first started, I was more intent on, the mission, right? You want to book the work, you want to fill the pipeline and that sort of thing. And I think now it's a little more like, hey, we're people. Like everybody's doing something, right? Everyone's got their business, got their things that they're doing. So definitely looking for opportunities where I can help people with whatever it is that they're doing. But at the end of the day, like it's all kind of community, right? We're kind of overlapping in some ways. We're kind of, doing each our own thing. And I think that's the biggest thing, because it goes back to like when you talk about being here in Houston, right? So I'm from Houston, and I've recently moved back a couple years ago, right? And for an organization to be here starting out like that, and you think about growth and opportunity, and we talked about that a little bit, and things are just changing in general. So by scaling a company like this, ultimately it can create more opportunities for the community. And it's the same thing with other businesses, and just listening to what it is that they're doing and talking to them. And I think that's what we want overall, because you got like heavy hitters that are in the industry, they're known and things like that. But just because we scale up isn't going to really take opportunities away from them to do business or to have positions or to create roles, in as much as it's just going to add and things kind of shift around. But if the overall market is growing, then ideally, you would expect that there's plenty of opportunities. So just looking out for those opportunities where I can help at some of these networking things and kind of getting more acclimated to doing that,
Yeah, well, it's an interesting situation. I know many years ago I even took a class or seminar kind of thing with, and it was out in this area in the Woodlands, and I learned a few things, about the approach and being successful. And
any advice?
And you met people. Well, the advice to me is not be afraid to go and visit with a group for 2 or 3 times, and then you need to have it on your calendar, if you will, to evaluate. And the person, I had some one-on-one teaching too as well. And again, I was older. I was not just starting out, but I was in a new industry and I wanted to learn. But their point was that they never stay in a networking group, for an example, for more than a year, unless they really have some strong relationships, because they work their way around the room. They, one-on-one, find the people, and then they want to continue to expand their base. But there's things out there, and just like anything, I believe education is an important part of what we do in business, meaning that we have to always get education on our list of things to do. And whether it's reading a book or taking a newsletter subscription or going to a seminar once or twice a year, depending on the industry. And I always encourage people to do that. And that's where I was trying to hone my skills, because, again, I'd gone into a new industry and I wanted to get up to speed.
I agree with that entirely, because it's like one thing to say, oh, well, we're moving, we do moving, but then that whole other side of it, as far as being a small business and all of these other things, like, and my involvement here is like, obviously, Steve has the valuable experience and knowledge within the industry, but like he can't be everywhere, right? And that's something that I get personally. Like, so it doesn't matter going this point forward in my life. These are things that I'm learning, that I'm developing, that will help me in my future and those things. And so that's the other side of being in a small business like this, and even just when you talk about learning and those types of things, some of those things you just get by doing it, right?
Right.
Like, so,
Well, and then the other thing, you said things are constantly changing. Say, for example, the industry, especially to do business with several large companies, energy companies here in town, they are now using a third-party sourcing that you have to stay compliant as a company. You have to what this third-party company does is they track your insurance to make sure that your insurance, you have to have a certain minimum amount of coverage to even just get in the door. You have to have a safety program set up. You have to have it worded. You have to have it documented. You have to have, especially like Exxon or some of the larger companies here, you have to have OSHA reports. So all this has to be documented, and you have to have that set up before you can even get in to talk with the purchasing department. So these third-party companies, what they do, and then also they charge us as a small business or a moving company, they charge us a fee for them to do that. But it's just something that it's just the cost of, say, doing business.
Right.
But so we have to maintain these reports. We have to maintain the insurance. We have to maintain all of this to basically say make sure we're still compliant to say get the business. Because once you're not compliant, then you won't get any business. So that's
Right.
something else that's behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like they got a gatekeeper, no
Yes.
doubt about it.
Yes.
And I get that. That makes sense, whether you do it internally or hire it out.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's look at the future. I mean, right now, and again, I'm not in the moving business. I've learned a lot today, but I'm in a business unrelated to what you do. It could be anything. I could be a dry cleaner. I could be a paper company or whatever. But the future, because things are moving faster and faster in business. I read a piece over the weekend where somebody back in the, trying to think, in the 80s, his prediction, he was a philosopher and thinker, he projected this, that things would move faster and change, and talking about business, but other things as well. And I see that. I mean, I feel blessed sometimes, quite frankly, that I grew up back here and not trying to pedal my bike so fast to keep up with the changes, and I'll leave that to my kids and their kids. But my point back to you, in your industry moving, you have obvious things such as office vacancies. They're still wrestling about them working in the office, working remote, and I would assume the fewer people that are in offices, then that can impact your business as far as potential opportunities.
Yes.
Now, what do you see in the next 5 years or so for the moving business for your company?
Well, actually, that has helped us. We do what we call, it's a process in the moving industry called decommissioning. So what that means, a lot of companies, especially a lot of call centers, post-COVID, they have realized they can make a profit without these employees going back to work. So we have probably within the last couple of years, we've had quite a bit of business where we actually went in and basically removed the furniture. And these employees stayed at home, continued to work, and we either say we liquidate the furniture for them, or if it's very, very old furniture, then we dispose of it. So that is happening a lot. A lot of also is we get a lot moves too where we just move the contents. Because Houston and Dallas, they've got more vacant office space than anywhere else in the country.
Right.
And you've got a lot of, say, offices, a lot of vacant offices with the fancy cubicles and desks. So we just move the contents. So to keep up with the time, what we do is another thing that we failed to mention is on social media, is learning how to, say, operate that way to keep ourselves marketing, keep ourselves up. And one good thing about him is that he's kind of a tech on social media that helps us, say, to maintain our social media presence to stay in front of people. So I say in 5 years from now, in the moving industry, the growth really is on the side of international moving and also office moving. We do also domestic moving in the United States from state to state, but that is basically already a pre-cut pie. In other words, it's not really growing, so to speak, because when I started in this industry, domestic moving was really, really, really a big side of it. But now a lot of folks with Zoom and WebEx and things like that, they can conduct business that don't have to, say, move their families and stay in one position. So that side has it's kind of plateaued. But On the international side, that side is still increasing, still growing. So I can foresee between that side, international business, and also on the office industrial side. The other thing is white glove business. What I mean by white glove business is basically, like for instance, white glove delivery is like you go to Home Depot, for example, and buy a freezer or a refrigerator, that kind of thing, and you basically pay to have it delivered. So somebody's gonna come to your house and actually say, put it in your home and remove the other. So that's considered white glove service. So that part still is growing as well. So basically, we are basically have a goal to say grow that every year. We grew 50% from last year. Last year we did 478 moves last year. So our goal is to double that. So to keep growing with the industry. So.
Right. Well, what's interesting is, and Juan, I'll get to you in just a moment, but just an evaluation of what you're saying, like so many industries, most industries, the world is moving faster, things are changing, and you have to stay flexible and look for those new opportunities to direct your resources and so on and so forth. So it's interesting, and I would think with the you've got a lot of employees. I mean, I'm talking employees are very important. Well, they're important in any business, but like I worked in a family business, 40 cents of every dollar went to the employees, cost of labor. And it's just what it was thereabouts with the benefits and everything. So you were really focused on employees and efficiencies and stuff. And in your industry, I'm sure a lot of that happens. But as you change your business focus, say to white glove, I'm sure the labor requirements change and so on and so forth. So I guess the good news, bad news is that you've got to be just as sharp and focused on changing labor components and things like that, probably even hiring different kinds of people to do those kinds of services.
Well, what we do is that, for example, we have certain movers that do household good moves, and we have certain movers that do office moves. So it's just not one size fit all. So
right.
Yeah, it's
really an interesting business. Juan, I'm sorry. Why don't you wrap us up?
Oh no, I was just going to say, if with as far as future and growth, I mean, as long as there's change, there's opportunity, and I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now, societally in general. Is just lots of things are changing, technology, all these types of things, but I think it always leads to opportunity. It's not going away. I think we're just adding to, so we have to think abundantly, think like, that sort of way, and just try to deliver on the goods, deliver on the move, deliver on a product, the service, and be consistent, and that sort of thing. So,
well, you make an excellent point, and it's something I try to counsel when I'm mentoring somebody in business, is that I go through their characteristics and who they are, their personality, whatever. And I said, one of the things you got to have is you got to be able to accept and lead change. And I said, this is getting more and more important. It's moved up the list over the last 10, 20 years, and it's still moving. It's still moving because the technology it shows up, and all of a sudden there's a quantum leap of opportunity. So, and I appreciate that.
Well, I don't think that they're going to replace the mover just yet. So we got.
Well, I heard they're testing robots right now.
They got them out there. I think they're mostly for dating though right now. So
my biggest source of business information right now is to watch the Jetsons, right? The cartoon.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I mean, time, though.
It
was.
But it gives you ideas. No, I'm just kidding. But gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for coming in and sharing your business and what you do. Steve, you bring so much experience to the table, which I think is wonderful. And if I can observe, you're old school in some ways just because of age.
Oh, yeah.
But boy, you're forward looking, and that's what it takes to be successful. And I'm glad you've got young people, if you will, that know all that stuff. I get in a room with our children, and all of them have knowledge of technology, computers. I mean, way beyond me. And one of them has an IT service firm, so he's kind of at the top. But he's got a brother that's right behind him who's a financial guy, but I mean, it's amazing. You got to have those skills.
Gotta have it. That's for sure.
If someone wants to reach out to you and talk to you about maybe something that was discussed today, or perhaps talk to you about doing a move for them, what's the best way for them to do it?
Well, they can just go to our website. It's www.contractmoverservices.com, and they can basically just send an email that way, or just the phone number's on there. It's www.contractmoverservices.com.
Well, again, thank you, gentlemen. Very enlightening, and sounds like you all have got a wonderful business with adequate challenges, and I think suspect that you're both up to them. So wish you the very best. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our show has come to an end for another week. Time flies when you're having fun, as they used to say very often in my generation. I want to remind you that if you're listening and you're in a business, you own a business, you can be a sponsor. You can sponsor this show or be a sponsor in general for the station. It's a nonprofit, Lone Star Community Radio. We deeply appreciate that. And if you have a business, you can connect your business to the weekly business hour. I think it's a good investment in public community radio, as well as communicating with your customers. So reach out to us. Just go to the website, irlonestar.com, or drop me an email, rick@irlonestar.com. And as we move forward into the new week, I always have that saying, right? Stay engaged in your business and always keep your focus on what's important to your business. Until next week, take care, stay warm. We're having winter in the south this week, so stay warm and come back next Monday, 11 a.m., right here on Lone Star Community Radio.